Hey Chris, how you doing this morning?
Doing great, Ron. How about yourself?
Good. I say this every time I'm going to talk about one of our favorite topics today, but I really do love this one because this is one that we've specialized in for the entire 17 years we've been in business. And that's
Yep.
the differences between B2B and B2C when it comes to e-commerce. And how do we address that? And how do we optimize the sites? And what are the considerations that we and our clients have to think about in order to maximize the conversions and increase revenue and customer sat, all that kind of fun stuff. It goes really deep and really wide. So today we're going to cover the B2C side. So I want you to kind of talk about, because to me, it's not just about the feature differences, right? It's about a
Right.
lot more. So why don't you give me your idea of what it's really about?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think as we go along, B2C tends to be more bleeding edge on certain areas, um, but not because it should be. B2B tends to have more detail, whether it's customer specific pricing or specific workflows around freight, or an approval process or quoting process that needs to occur. These are pretty common scenarios. Maybe even like specs and drawings need to be, sort of traded back and forth or reviewed. So, by its nature, a lot of the B2B process can just physically require more complexity, whereas the B2C tends to be so relatively simple that there tends to be a lot more progression, again, sort of on the bleeding edge or the cutting edge of keeping things as minimal and simple and clean and clear and focused on the process for the consumer. That we can sort of take benefits from both and cross them over to each other. And that's really what we see today a lot is this opportunity to be able to bring a lot of the benefits of simpler, cleaner, clearer processes that are more intuitive from B2C over to B2B. And then similarly, more capabilities and automation and integration from B2B over to enterprise level B2C, right?
Yeah.
And so there shouldn't really be a difference between the two, other than maybe workflows or business logic that can be more complex on the business side.
Right.
But as we know, the reality is that businesses have constraints around capital that they can invest. And so there tends to be this kind of differentiation around those points. So,
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost, well, at least historically. And like you said, it's changing. And I think AI is even going to change a lot more, right? Because things that are
yes.
typically reserved for B2C, like personalization, are going to start moving into B2B, as you said. And some of the B2B workflows are moving into B2C. But historically, it's almost like the difference between quantity versus quality. And it's not really true, but with B2C, it's really about quantity because it's usually a lot more smaller transactions.
That's
So
right.
the focus back then, when we started talking about the target audiences, is how do we modify the customer journey to be as short and efficient as we possibly can so that we can crank through the quantity of transactions and handle the quantity of transactions that typically a B2C marketplace might incur. Whereas the B2B transactions are so fewer and far between, we have to be more succinct in what are we addressing because it's very expensive to lose a B2B customer because instead of a one-time $10 customer that we're losing on a B2C site, we might lose a lifetime $3 million customer if we lose a B2B customer. So for me, historically it was always quantity, meaning efficiency and hyper efficiency, and quality, meaning the perfect customer journey and the perfect service to that B2B client, almost like a VIP client, right? And that's how historically I thought about it. But I loved your point about how they're kind of melding together and things from either are coming. And I agree with that. So, first off, the difference in the audience, I'm going to mention one or two things. And then what I'd love to do is I'd love to fire a bunch of things at you and have you answer each one of them on how they
Awesome.
affect a B2C purchaser's decision-making process, or does it affect their decision at all? And we talk through that based on how we're building the site. So first off, the B2C audience to me, right? These are usually individuals, and I'm usually buying for myself or I'm buying for somebody else, right? Buying for a family member, or buying for me, or I'm buying as a gift for somebody, right? That's usually a B2C customer. They're usually the decision maker. I need to find what I want quickly, right? I need to go to the site. I know what I'm looking for. I need to be able to find it quickly. And then there are a number of things that affect my decision, right? I need to have everything right there to make that decision. If I don't have that information to make a decision, I'm going to go somewhere else where I can find that information to make a decision. And that could be things like I go to a site and they don't have customer reviews, and so I've never bought from them. I don't know if I can trust them, so I have to go to a site that at least has reviews, right? It could be
Right.
something literally that simple. Or it could be I saw it at Costco the other day for $9.97, but I don't want to drive up and deal with the crowd at Costco, so I want to see if I can buy it online. I go online and I see it for $9.99. I'm like, well, it's cheaper at Costco. So over 2 cents, I'm going to go spend $5 in gas and wait a few days to. I mean, it's crazy, right? But that's how uh, fickle sometimes B2C purchases are. So here's a list of items that I've got. I'm going to fire these off at you, and I want you to talk through what does Clarity do to address or coach their clients on how these things can affect the decision as we're putting together a B2C marketplace or a B2C storefront? So, first one is price. I just mentioned the Costco example, but first one is price. What are your thoughts on that?
This is really important. Like you said, there can be price points. I think the part of the price, and we'll get to this in the next bullets, but part of it is the shipping. I would even say like part of the price is like, what does it take to sign up? Because a lot of people don't want to waste their time, but just staying within the literal scope of price, being able to show that this is a reasonable cost, or having a policy potentially about price matching, and then also being able to do discounts or provide promotional sort of encouragement. And also this kind of ties into abandoned carts, promotions of a particular kind. We've worked with clients that do all kinds of promotions throughout the year on the B2C front, and this dramatically increases their revenue, and it gets them customer acquisition, and they will promote things like subscription discounts and price. And
Right.
this can help build, loyalty. So, there's a lot to unpack there. And I think we'll talk about some of these in the next items, but price ultimately is a huge factor for B2C for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, you've seen it with Prime and with Costco memberships, even GNC has memberships and things like that. But literally, once you've spent the money to have a membership and you get a discount price, you're going to go back there because you're special and you get a better price if you go there. And so that is something that a lot of B2C clients mistake themselves because they think, Costco is a buying group platform, which really it is. People buy there in bulk, but you can do the same thing. I mean, GNC did it, right? I bought a
Mhm.
GNC membership and I used to go buy all my vitamins at GNC when we lived close to the mall because it was convenient and I had a membership and I got a discount, right? So I went there all the time. Um, all right,
And that,
next one.
that just before you go to the next one, the other thing too, I would just say on price, and I think we'll get to this with some of the other items as well, but if you are in a sort of luxury brand or sort of a luxury pricing or just higher value pricing, we just have to make sure that that message is clear throughout the experience. Some
Right,
people won't buy if it's the lowest price,
right.
and that's just how it is. So, but sort of part of that equation or part of that package has to be some of the other items that we're going to get to. So,
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, the word cheap has a lot of connotation around it, right?
it
Just
does.
because it's cheap, is it cheap? Because that bleeds into quality so quickly. You're right. Right.
Yep.
All right. So the next one, you kind of mentioned it before, is shipping. There's a really interesting statistic that I know you know about. You mentioned it the other day. I want you to talk about shipping and how shipping really impacts uh, the B2C market.
Yeah, so this is really key. I mean, we recommend to pretty much, most clients, there at least be some threshold that we set, whether it's 25 or $75, where a customer can get free shipping. Um, and it also works to provide them shipping upgrades if they get to a certain level of total purchase amount. But the stat is that, roughly 74%, so basically three-fourths of B2C buyers literally will abandon their checkout process, the cart, unless there's free shipping.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cut and dry. And of course, you can effectively bake this into the cost of the products. And that's what most of our clients do. There's also a lot of opportunity with different shipping providers that we can help you to connect with to dramatically reduce your cost for shipping, and even participate in shipping groups that can sort of syndicate these group costs down, if you're not already part of one. So there are some incredible options here to automate and really drive your costs down for your shipping, so you can offer free shipping. And then again, it's a great opportunity to help people to upgrade, especially with B2C. A lot of the mindset should be, these folks are ready to buy from you, and they want to kind of treat themselves. And so you always want to be presenting options that maybe 30 or 40% of your buyers will upsell themselves. So they might purchase a few more items to get overnight shipping. And this is a great opportunity to help them upsell.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and a lot of times there's a science behind it. So if you know that your average item sale price is $15, then you're going to make it free shipping at $20 or free shipping at
right.
$25 because they're like, oh, I only need
Look
one more
into,
item and I get free shipping, right? It's
right.
really simple type stuff. But if you put free shipping anything over $10, they're like, oh, well, anything I buy now, I buy one item, I get free shipping. That doesn't really incent them to, as Chris says, treat themselves and get that one extra item to get free shipping. I
Right.
know we do that all the time, right? I'm looking at stuff. We go to Target. Well, we got a Target card, so we get free shipping. But anywhere we go to shop, if we're online, we're looking at, is there a free shop? Oh, I only need one more item, and we can be over the $35 threshold. We get free shipping, and we do it almost every time because the item's almost free. Because if shipping's $7 to $10 and the item's only $7 to $10 to get over that number, we're going to buy it. It
Right.
just makes business sense. So the next one's the information about the product. How important is it when Ron goes to a site to make a decision on a product that the information about the product, what information is available to me?
Boy, that's a great question. I mean, I think everyone knows this. It sort of goes without saying, but if the product information, the product detail page is not credible, and it sort of has to meet a minimum threshold just for you to be in the game. But there are a lot of opportunities to really cement the credibility and the confidence, the credibility that you will gain, and your business will gain, and the confidence that that consumer is going to have in making that purchase from the ethos, essentially, of the product detail page. And ultimately, there are some specific factors that go into this. But one of the things that I think is so understated constantly is the imagery,
Yeah.
and making sure that that's really compelling, um, and the details, the product details. Typically, it makes a lot of sense to keep these to the main bullets and allow them to drill into more detail. And someone's looking to sort of make a decision. They're not necessarily looking to read a novel, and so they're probably going to decide, yes, I want to purchase this. Now let me look at whatever it is they want to look at. So we want to make it easy for them to see what it is they feel is necessary. So it might be, they see the image, they see the description, they see a few bullets, they see the price, and boom, at the back of their mind, I'm ready to buy this.
Yep.
I want to check the reviews. So they look at the reviews, they're good. If they're not great, they're going to drill down and look at those. And then, any supporting information that's just going to kind of reassure them they made a good decision. But they've kind of already decided when they just look at it, I want to buy this. And that's kind of how it is with B2C. You want to engage the emotional thought processes, in addition to having the supporting kind of factual basis. I'm curious what your thoughts are, because I know you'll have some specifics here too.
Oh yeah, yeah. One of the things, I mean, we eat with our eyes, we buy with our eyes, right? There's no way I'd buy a car without seeing the car, right? You just don't. That's why they call it window shopping. People are looking, and the same thing is online, right? I want to see it. I want to zoom in on it. I want to feel like I can actually touch, taste, and see the item in my hand and see myself owning that item, right? Kind of sounds cheesy, but that's the way it is. What I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to bring up two screenshots. Right now on this side, I'm going to bring up a screenshot of one of my demos that I did where I just went to a couple of my clients, grabbed a few of their products and threw them on the screen. And this is what a catalog looks like. They're all very high quality images. They're all exactly the same size. I did them 1,000 by 1,000 so they could be zoomed on. But now I'm going to bring up the same catalog of a different set of products and look how different it is. This one, I did exactly what Chris and I just talked about. Big, very nice, beautiful images of products. However, I didn't make consistency between the products here, where on this side, I made consistency where they all had a white background. And so now when it comes to the catalog view, they all look like they belong together in the same catalog. And the catalog is very beautiful. Even though this is construction equipment that you're looking at, it's really pretty. It's very clean. And all of the pictures of each product are the same consistency and the same look and feel. It feels like it came from the same catalog. Whereas on the other side, it feels kind of mismatched and it doesn't match because even though the same quality, the same size images went into it, they definitely look like they came from a different catalog, a different family. It was kind of hodgepodge macrame thrown together, right? So
Right.
even ensuring quality pictures, you should think about it as a whole catalog and how are you presenting yourself as a company forward on product images. So speaking of that feel, right? The next one for me is the one that I know you deal with all the time is the security and the professionalism, right? There's a statistic that Rosabeth Moss Cantor, she's a Harvard business professor, published, voted one of the 20 most brilliant business women in the world. She did a study once that said within 50 milliseconds of hitting your site, a customer has already made up their mind on the level of professionalism of your company. So if people don't think design is important, you couldn't be more wrong, right? Design is absolutely important. So talk briefly, Chris, about the site being secure and professional. And what do I feel when I come to this site? What are some of the things that you, as the site owner, need to think about outside of just the product to make me feel secure in putting in my credit card and giving you my money in my business?
Yeah, I think that people know that essentially there's safety in numbers kind of a thought process. And if the site is credible, and in particular, it sort of matches the pattern of other sites that are credible that they've had a positive experience on, then just subconsciously they're making the distinction between whether your site and the ethos and the branding and the professionalism match what was a positive or what was a negative experience. And it's subconscious, and it's happening, like you said, within milliseconds, tens of milliseconds. And fundamentally, this is probably the most important thing. If you don't get this right, it's essentially over.
Yeah.
And I think foundationally this is not hard to accomplish.
Yeah.
And I like to talk about sort of like the zombie apocalypse rule. um, you know, you just have to be better than the weakest in the zombie apocalypse rule. It's kind of a crude rule, but and in this scenario, you kind of want to be better than all the rest by at least a little bit within
Yeah.
your space. And that's how I would characterize this. But yeah, I think, really immersing yourself and working with a team that does this constantly in what are the best practices for a site like yours, what is the most credible, and making sure that that's something that gets a substantial investment to clear that hurdle of being at least slightly better than everyone else in your space. That's going to be a game changer for your business. It really will. It makes a total difference in performance on your site.
Yeah. I mean, you have to think about it this way. If I was spending 100 grand on a Mercedes, would I feel more comfortable in that purchase decision if I was walking around inside a Mercedes dealership or at Ron's yard sale?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
seriously.
a
And that's
perfect
how
way to
cars
say
are.
it. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. My wife says I spoiled her working for a web design company for the last 12 years. She
Yeah.
goes, now when I go online shopping at sites, I'm like, this site's crap. Their UI is bad. And she just sees it now, right? And she
Yeah.
just feels it and she bounces
Yes.
and she understands it very clearly, as I talk about what we do and the science behind designing the site. So it's very important to incorporate that. So the last couple items, and then we'll finish up here, is that I want you to talk about things about notifications, receipt, order status, timely notifications. When is my shipping going to come? Kind of talk about the actual, I've made my decision, I've made my purchase. Now, what are some of the things on a B2C site about that order that I find important or that I
Yeah.
expect?
That's a great question. To me, this boils down to a single word, and it's expectations.
Yeah.
And, foundationally, you're in the driver's seat to set these expectations on the product detail page, in the cart, at checkout, post checkout, with consistent and clear messaging. And I think fundamentally these are things that you want to make sure that you understand and put yourself constantly in the position of how would I be feeling? How would I feel? What would I be thinking if I was the consumer and I was interacting with the site? And at the end of the day, they just want to know that the order was accepted properly, and then what is next, and
Yeah.
when should I expect that by, so I can say something if it doesn't happen. And especially if this is a new customer for your site, then they really, really are going to be sort of feeling at least some level of risk with working with you because it's a new relationship. So at the end of the day, I would say that they need to have acknowledgement of things that they're doing, of course, the order, but also if they need to do anything else, they need acknowledgement of it. And ideally, they would have updates as things progress with fulfillment, and actually shipping, where it is in the shipping process, when it was delivered, and then what kind of support, if there are any issues whatsoever, what kind of support process can they go through. And these things are, typically taken care of with the order receipt, order status and updates, and timely shipping information, tracking of the shipping, etc. RMA, the ability to, get support, chat with support. These are just foundational elements that should be sort of very obvious and clear throughout that process after someone's elected to buy. Any thoughts on your end on this too, Ron?
Yeah, no, I think expectations is the great word, right? Everybody wants to know, was my order received? When's it going to come? And then they're looking for those proactive notifications. You don't want to say, well, we update all the status in the portal. They can go there anytime. Why are you forcing them to go back? If you make an
Right.
update and it's back ordered or it's been shipped, send them a proactive notification. Make sure the
Yep.
platform has the capability to trigger notifications and keep them in the know, make it more convenient for them. Remember Chris's zombie apocalypse. How do you stay ahead? By being proactive, and you service them, give them the service that you would want,
Right.
and you'll win. So that covers the B2C side. In part two, we're going to really dive into the B2B side and what you can do and what are some of the expectations to do that. Anything you want to tie up with, Chris? Otherwise, we'll say goodbye.
Bye for now, and we'll look forward to the next video. We're going to cover B2B. Thanks for watching.
Bye for now.